Today is Friday, February 4th, and in 2 days I will be running a full marathon without any training. A few months ago, Gina and I were in San Francisco. We had some free time, so Gina turned on a YouTube video of the Hawaii Kona Ironman competition that happens every year. It was so inspiring to see everyone racing and dedicating their lives. I decided I'm gonna look up a marathon close to home. So I went on Google and I signed up for the Huntington Beach Surf City Marathon on February 6th. I thought I'd be training hardcore over the next 3 months, but 3 months have passed and I barely did any training. I went on a few short and long runs, nothing really substantial. And Gina, say for the camera what you think my chances are of finishing the race? 50-50? Bruh. Not even like 60-40 or 70-30? Bruh. And Gina has also participated in triathlons before. So it's not looking good. Gina's dad said it's a bad idea and that I couldn't do it. Gina's giving me 50-50 odds. My dad also ran a full marathon before and he said it's not a good idea. I'm about to turn 40, and so I just wanted to prove to myself, I guess, that I have at least the mental grit to finish this race. Well, we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Are you gonna tell them?
No.
Why?
No.
They're gonna ask me why you're walking so funny.
I'll tell them if that's the case. Oh. Good morning. It's the day after the marathon and everything hurts. Parts of me that I didn't think had any muscles or any part to do with running, like my left upper back, both biceps are in a lot of pain. I have 2 huge blisters on the soles of both feet. Every single muscle in both legs are in severe pain, but I did it.
Oh man. Thank you very much. Thank you. Watch your phone. Watch. I just need to sit somewhere.
Come here, sit down, sit right here. Actually, you need to walk it off.
Yeah.
Right here.
Why did I just do that? Here's my beautiful wife.
I ran a marathon yesterday with very little preparation, training, or experience, but I finished. And so I wanted to kind of share with you my experience. It wasn't easy at all. The race was supposed to start at 6:30 a.m. At least the marathoners were going to start 6:30 in the morning. So my wife and I left about 15 minutes before when we were expected to arrive. So by the time we got there, it was 6:15 a.m. But then it took us another 20 to 25 minutes to find parking, to get to park and to get to the starting line. So I ended up starting the race completely alone. There was nobody else at the start line, and it was already 10 minutes past when the race had begun.
One mile down, 25 to go.
I ran the first 12 to 13 miles at about a 12 to 13 minute per mile pace, and I ran it pretty much alone.
2 down, 24 to go.
I was slow to begin with, and everyone else had about a 10-minute lead ahead of me.
Three miles in. I think I'm still in last place. That's okay. Keeping up about a 12.5 minute pace. Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. I think I'm still in last place. We're gonna keep going. About 4.5 miles in.
I was feeling pretty good up to the 12 to 13 mile mark. And in my inexperience and naivety, I remember thinking, I'm all set. If I keep this pace of 12 to 13 minutes per mile for the next 13, 14 miles, I'll finish in a reasonable time. I'll probably be able to stop and stretch for a little bit.
Just got out of the Huntington Beach Park. I've been in last place since I started. I got to the start line 10 minutes late, and I've been pretty much running by myself the whole time. Just better, I guess. I can stay in my own head and run. But yeah, my legs are okay. They're a little stiff. I'm running for my wife, Gina. Gina, I love you. Let's have a long, happy life together in God.
That's when things began to change, at least in my body. Things began to tighten up. All of my muscles, my quads, my hams, they slowly started tensing up. And I started developing this like slight discomfort and gnawing in the ball of my left foot. Shortly thereafter, I hit my first wall. It was about the 13, 14 mile mark. And that slight tightening now became intense tightness. So if I had more time, I would have stopped and really stretched for at least a few minutes. But I couldn't do the math in my head well enough, but I knew that I had started the race 10 minutes late, and the cutoff time for the marathon was about 15 minutes and 30 seconds per mile. Or the equivalent was about 6 hours and 30 minutes. That was going to be the cutoff. The one time I stopped to stretch, it was probably a minute or two at most. For the rest of mile 13, I decided to walk it and to try to jog again at mile 14. At mile 14, I tried jogging again, but I just couldn't. Everything was so tight. My legs are tight, even my upper body was tight. That discomfort in the ball of my left foot now had transformed into a full-blown pain in the balls of both feet, because I had developed blisters on the balls of both feet. And again, in my naivety and inexperience, I had worn regular cotton socks, like gym socks, and apparently that's a big no-no. You have to wear specific running socks or compression socks. So from mile 14 to mile 20, basically it was a mix of trying to jog and power walking. I would start each new mile trying to jog, and I would make it maybe a quarter to half a mile of just painful jogging. And then I would have to stop because the pain was so severe, especially in the balls of both feet. But I was having pain in my quads, and my calves, and my ankles, and my hamstrings. And so that was each mile up to mile 20. At mile 14, knowing that you have about another half of the marathon left in the condition you're in, it's pretty discouraging. With each mile, I started having these recurring negative thoughts. This is stupid. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? I don't think I'm gonna make it. Everything hurts. So I understood clearly what others meant when they said that running a marathon was just as much of a mental battle as it is a physical battle. Your brain, your mind starts talking loudly. So I guess I just started talking back to myself. Just keep going. Brain, stop thinking. Do this for your wife. You're stronger than this. At mile 20, I hit another wall. Jogging was no longer an option. I just couldn't jog. I was just too stiff. It was just too painful. The blisters on both feet were extremely painful. My legs felt like stilts and my biceps were completely cramped. So at that point, I turned on some Christian music to try to encourage myself. And the first song that was on my playlist is called Graves into Gardens. It's by Elevation Worship. And the one part I remember hearing specifically, it goes like this. Then you came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Boom. My eyes started watering. I was having a full-blown emotional meltdown or revelation of God's love. God, I love you. God, I love you. God, I love you. You overcame this. I needed to preserve my body fluids, so I decided to stop being so emotional. My wife had been texting me regularly up to that point, encouraging me, egging me on, telling me I was going to make it, telling me I was going to make it, telling me I was going to make it. It was such strength when I read her text telling me and begging me to just keep going. She waited for me and met me at mile 26, just before the cutoff time, and I power walked across the finish line with her.
Good job. You did so good. Good. Okay. Almost there.
As soon as I crossed the finish line, the adrenaline wore off. The pain took over. I didn't realize I would be in so much pain because I had power walked up to that point. My walking was very brisk up to that point. And then when I finally stopped, got my medal, took a breath, and tried walking to the car afterwards, everything was just locked up, very painful. So now I had pain on the balls of both feet, and the outer part of my foot was hurting. My legs were hurting, my knees were hurting, everything was hurting. But I had my medal in hand.
Wow.
Why did I just do that? Beautiful.
Wow.
26.2 miles.
Would I do this again, or will I do this again? Absolutely. Now that I know what to expect, now that I know exactly what it takes, now that I know exactly what amount of physical and mental suffering this race takes and produces, what kind of mental and physical preparation this race takes, and because this marathon is no longer an uncharted expanse of possibilities, that's enough. And of course, I'll be preparing for it properly this time with my wife. I guess this means I'm hooked.